North and South Korea pledged to make peace. Here's what it actually means. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and South Korean President Moon Jae-In on Friday pledged to make peace, but many details in their joint declaration have yet to be worked out. That's because the two leaders may agree on broad principles that can have different interpretations to each, and lead to lengthy negotiations or failure down the road. Here's a closer look at some of the thorniest points. South and North Korea affirmed the principle of determining the destiny of the Korean nation on their own accord. Korea analyst Barry Bleckman said this means the two countries want to decide their future without the United States or China imposing it on them. The problem is that the two superpowers would have to participate in any peace negotiation between North and South, and oversee a complicated and long process that could end up with a U.S. withdrawal from the Korean peninsula. While many American presidents have expressed a desire to bring home the 28,000 U.S. troops stationed in South Korea, for Trump it may be politically difficult to accept a tyrant like Kim. The guy is a murderer and keeps thousands of people in prison camps, Bleckman said. Trump would have to sit down and sign a peace treaty with him without saying anything about its internal political processes. I think that would be very hard for him to swallow. Families that were separated by the Korean War should be reunified on August 15, the statement said. When the Korean War broke out, tens of thousands of North Koreans fled to the south, and left family members in North Korea. The issue of family reunification has lingered since the 1953 Korean War armistice agreement that ended the fighting but not the war. Several family reunification events have occurred in the past years. According to the South Korean government, 130,000 South Koreans applied to have reunions with their relatives in the north, and half of them have passed away, said Yun Sun, a China and Korea analyst at the Stimson Center. Of the remaining 70,000 applicants, 40% are over the age of 80, and 40,000 of them die every year, Sun said. When top leaders from North and South meet, this issue is on the agenda because neither side can object to the reunions, she said. In order to promote balanced economic growth and co-prosperity of the nation, adopt practical steps towards the connections and modernization of the railways and roads on the Eastern Transportation Corridor. The project, first agreed to in 2007, would be an economic benefit for North Korea, which wants to improve its infrastructure. The question is whether the South can provide this economic benefit to the North without violating United Nations Security Council sanctions, Sun said. They will need permission on a case-by-case basis from the UN Security Council, she said. She noted that the joint statement says not much about North Korea's nuclear weapons. I think this represents goodwill on both sides to promote joint infrastructure projects for economic development, but the decision to avoid the particulars of denuclearization is politically convenient, she said. South and North Korea agreed to completely cease all hostile acts against each other in every domain, including land, air and sea. In the past, the North said the statement would include U.S. South Korea joint military exercises, drills involving U.S. ships, submarines and aircraft in the region, but now it's not clear. We don't know if Kim Jong-un would accept those, now, because he didn't object to joint exercises earlier this month, though previously he did, said Scott Snyder, an analyst at the Council on Foreign Relations. This is the North Korea charm offensive. They turned it on and we don't know when they'll turn it off. The South Koreans would want the North to refrain from missile and nuclear tests, which Kim has already suspended. That gives the U.S. and South Korea a basis to object to tests if they resume, Snyder said. South and North Korea confirmed the common goal of realizing, through complete denuclearization, a nuclear-free Korean peninsula. The fact that the nuclear issue appears in the North-South joint statement is notable because in the past the North would only discuss the issue with the United States. But it raises the question whether the U.S. and South Korea have a common definition in mind, Snyder said. To the North Koreans, denuclearization involves removing the perceived nuclear and conventional threat from the United States, which goes beyond the Korean peninsula, Snyder said. For the U.S., which has nuclear weapons stationed at sea across the region, the goal for North Korea is complete verifiable and irreversible denuclearization, Snyder said. For the leaders it's easier to talk about the viability of peace than for the North Koreans and the U.S. to agree on definitions of denuclearization, Snyder said. That means Trump and Kim will have plenty to work on when they meet in a planned summit. More, Korean leaders take historic steps toward denuclearization, accord more, what's next after North and South Korea summit? It's Trump's turn to meet Kim Jong-un. More, will North Korea get rid of their nukes? Questions answered before summits with South Korea, U.S.